I'm excited for this season of Rocket Motivation because my firm, Hand, Arundel, Harris & Sale, Attorneys at Law, where I am a partner, is our sponsor. We understand life and running a business can be challenging, but with the right support, it can also be incredibly rewarding. That's why we're thrilled to announce our partnership with Hand, Arundel, Harris & Sale.
I told him my story exactly how it happened. 23-year-old woman sentenced to 30 years for 6 weeks involved in a conspiracy. I thought they were just scamming me because I had never been in trouble in my life. Never. You can't imagine being in prison. 21 years behind bars. That's 21 years I can never catch up to. I just got to start where I'm at, Whatever you've been through in life, don't let your past determine your future. And that's what I live by.
Hey everyone, this is Rod Cade and welcome to this week's episode of Rocket Motivation. When this week's guest was 23 years old, she was convicted for her role in a drug conspiracy. She was sentenced to 30 years. In 2011, at the age of 44, she was released after serving 21 years of her sentence because of a change in the crack cocaine sentencing guidelines. She tells her story of what it's like to spend 21 years behind bars, how she has improved herself, and how she has turned her life around, including speaking to teenagers and young adults, warning them about how one bad decision can change your life. Stephanie Nod, welcome to Rocket Motivation.
Thank you, Rod, for having me here.
All right. And Stephanie, it's a pleasure having you here. So, Stephanie, kind of tell us where you are now in your life. What do you do? Family? Kind of just catch the listeners up.
What I'm doing in my life right now, mostly I'm just working, staying at home. That's basically my life. But since I've been home, I've been doing a lot. I've been trying to give back to the community, doing stuff with the kids and stuff. I travel a lot to Washington. I even sponsor trips for the kids in the summertime to the water park. But basically, that's all my life is around, working, doing what I can, trying to give back to the community.
Right. But now you have children of your own. Tell us about those.
I have 5 kids, 4 boys and 1 girl. The girl I had her in prison.
Right. They're all adult children?
They're all adults, yeah.
Okay. And do you see them? Are they local or?
They local. I see them daily. Okay. All on work and doing good. Matter of fact, I just got one released from prison, thank God. He had his trouble, but he's doing good.
Well, good. Okay. All right, well, Stephanie, let's go back to 1988. What was going on in your life and kind of tell us kind of what happened?
Back in 1988, I was involved in drugs. I learned how to sell drugs from watching my kid's father. I picked up watching him, and I started selling drugs. But when I met the people that I got involved with this conspiracy, I had backed up out of it. So when I met, I can say his name, John Christopher, he came to Mobile, and I met him through my co-defendant named Bill. He introduced me to him, and he asked me how he can get rid of some drugs. So I said, okay, I can help you. I can show you how to break down, because in Tampa, Florida, where he comes from, the more drug there costs lesser, but more drug here is where the cheaper it is, the more you get for it. So I showed him how to break it down, and I told him where the area where you can go sell it at. I did that, and I only did one money transaction for him, to wire some money for him, and that's all I did in the conspiracy. And I got 30 years. They held me coming for 5 keys or more.
Right. Well, and so tell us what happened. So, you go through a trial.
I went to trial.
And got convicted.
Yeah.
And then you receive a sentence for 30 years. When the judge says you're going away for 30 years, what's going through your mind?
He said you're going to be sentenced to 360 months. I was actually looking at life, but Judge Howard said he could not sentence me to life. He gave me a 3-point level and sentenced me to 360 months. He said he didn't think I deserved that much because I was young. I was 23, and all my co-defendants was older than me. They was like 40, and I was the only girl. And he felt like I couldn't be that responsible to do all that what they say I had did. Right. So he sentenced me 360 months.
Right. Well, when you heard that, first of all, did he say 30 years or did he say 360 months?
360 months.
Did you have to do the math real quick in your head as to?
Well, how I knew what 360 months was, my mama didn't know what it was, but I did, because you can have a pre-sentence report come and see you like a right. PO, and they go over the guidelines, and I seen that 360 to 43 because that's what my level was on based on the crack cocaine was involved in the case. I knew what it was. But when he sentenced me that, I didn't think it was real. I thought they were just scamming me because I had never been in trouble in my life. Never. Right. So I thought it was like a joke. They're going to bring me back like in 6 months and re-sentence me. No.
Yeah, it was no joke.
It was no joke. It was real.
So what happens when it finally sunk in that you're sentenced for 30 years?
Okay, after I got sentenced at 360 months, my lawyer, Neil Hanley, told me he was going to do an appeal. The appeal took like 3 or 4 years. It took that long. So when they did come back, they vacated my sentence and remanded. And what they did was, when I came back, the judge said, the 11th Circuit said they can't uphold my sentence unless they find me capable of the amount of drugs they had said I was responsible for. So I went back to court on a re-sentence. And they had the DA come in. They were saying who sold this much drug on the street and how much was sold on certain days. So they gave me a manager role. So the manager role, they held me accountable for all the drugs they said sold in 6 weeks.
Right. So
and my sentence stayed the same.
Okay. I know. I think you were pregnant when you were sentenced.
Yes.
Okay. So you deliver a baby while you're in the federal prison.
Yes.
Tell us about how that was.
It was hard. It was rough. The night I went to lay with her, my water bust, and my roommate, her name was Stephanie too. My water bust, and she ran and got an officer, and I'm known to have my baby fast. So she went and got the officer, and they came and got me and stuff, rushed me up to the medical facility. And he said, whatever you do, don't push. Do you know, when I left out that prison, got in that ambulance, they handcuffed me. They handcuffed me, my hands and my legs. When I got to the hospital and the doctor seen them had me shackled like, he said, she can't have no baby like that. He said, well, we have to follow our rules like that. He said, she cannot have no baby like that. So they called somebody. They took the shackles off me. When they got me back there, my baby was coming.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I guess they think you were going to try to run.
They say my security was minimal, and they was going by the prison rule.
And so you deliver your child. How long do you get to spend with your child before they take him? I
had my baby the next day. I left.
Yeah.
They had my baby in the room with me, and I was in there with 2 guards. And the guards they loved my baby so much. They had my baby more than I did. Yeah. They rocked my baby while I laid in that bed. When
you went to prison, so you already had 4 children, so now this was your 5th. Who took care of them?
My mother had 3, and my kid's father, my baby father, had my other little boy.
And so while you were in prison throughout this time, I know you're in for 21 years that you actually served. What kind of relationship did you have with your kids who were on the outside? I
had a good relationship with my kid. Mostly, even though their dad was in their life, it was like it was me. It was more like me. I was the backbone with whatever I said. It was hard because when I left them, it was hard. When I left them, when I called home, long as I know they was smiling and laughing, they was okay. But if I called home and they was quiet, I knew something was wrong, and that put me like in a depressed stage.
Yeah.
So long as when I called home, they was happy. They helped my time go by. I could do my time. Long as I knew my kid was okay, I can do my time. But I know, before I went to prison, I'll never forget what my brother said to me. He said, you got to do that time. You don't know when you're going to come home. He said, so now you got to put your big pants on. Yeah. He said, your feelings got to be under your feet. And I never forgot that.
Yeah. So knowing you're in there and knowing you're facing 30 years, what's your mindset? Like knowing you're going to spend or thinking you're going to spend that much time in prison, what's going through your brain on just how you're going to deal with it, how you're going to make it through?
First, I prayed. I stayed in prayer. I had my faith in God. One thing I never did give up, I had all the hope. I never lost hope. The 21 years, I never lost hope. Because girls will walk around and say I'm small and I played and everything. How you small, walk around here and you got 30 years? God didn't take that away from me. I always smile. I never walked around depressed or nothing. I kept that hope. I don't know. I just kept that hope. And every morning, I always said, God, give me strength. And I knew when you're doing time, I knew I couldn't worry about the outside. And that's a lot that helped me get through. I could not worry about what was going on outside. Even though I called home, I know what was going on, but I focused on in that prison. And my surrounding most was around other people. That's another key. When you're doing time, you got to be around positive people.
Right. And I guess you're not in prison for no reason. So, everybody's in there because they did something wrong. Yeah. But that doesn't mean everybody.
They're not bad people.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That doesn't mean that they're bad people. People make mistakes.
Exactly.
And some mistakes are bigger than others, and the big mistakes can land you in prison.
Exactly.
And you're a prime example of that. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just made a bad decision.
Exactly.
Tell us what it's like on a daily basis when you were in there. There probably were some bad people in there.
It is.
So how did you navigate like on a daily basis? What did you do?
In federal prison, you have to work. I don't care if you work for 5 minutes, you're going to get up and you got to go to work. If you're going to be in the morning, afternoon. I always worked in the kitchen or I worked in Unicorn. I started my prison out working in the kitchen. And then at the time, I had dropped out of school. So when you first get to prison, they're going to take you, and when you get there, you go through orientation, and they're going to give you a test. And the test based on when you're going to start school. So they put me in school, say, for my GED. After 6 months, if you want to continue, you can continue or you can drop out. That's your choice. Because in prison, one thing I can say about federal prison, wherever you want to be, you can be in prison because it's there. They got college, they got trade. It's there for you.
And what did you do?
What I did, I worked in the kitchen. I got my culinary degree. I even got a butcher degree. Then I ended up I took all kinds of different classes, accounting class. And let me tell you what really forced me to get my GED. I had wanted to go take up this bookkeeping class. You have to take a test. I was in Danbury at this time, so I went and took the test like that, and I scored high. So when my friends went the next day to go sign up and stuff, get their books and stuff, I can't even think the guy that offered me the teacher name. So when I walked up there, I said, I'm coming to get my books. And so he said, no, you're not. I said, why I passed the test? He said, yeah, if you can pass this test, you can get your GED. I was so mad. But 2 days later, he came and got me from my unit. He said, Stephanie, ain't no reason you're not having your GED. You're too smart. You passed that test with flying colors. And I went and got in class. 2 months later, I got my GED.
Right.
But I think I was focused more on working, keep myself busy, than just sitting down thinking. That's how I did my time. I worked. From working, I went on the yard and exercised, walked. That's how I did my time in prison.
What about relationships with your other inmates? I mean, I guess you become pretty good friends with some?
I did. And most of the girls I got, the ones I was close to, the ones doing time like me, 20 or 30 years. And when you come in, some of them, I guess they can feel good people or something, but most time I did my time around older people, 50 and 60 years old. That's who I sat around. If you see somebody today that know me, they'll probably tell you, Stephanie, she always been by herself. You're never going to catch her with a whole lot of people. And that's how I was. Mm-hmm. That's how I did my time because I know being with a lot of people, they're going to bring a problem.
Yeah. And
I always hung with myself, very few.
Yeah. I guess that you have to accept that this is your world now. You know, being in prison, that this is your world. How did you kind of wrap your head around that?
I came to reality. I know I got to be there till one day. I knew I was going to come home, but I didn't know when. But I knew in prison, that was my family. If I got sick or they sick, we got each other because we going to be there before the officer get there. The officer can't get there unless we go get them or call them on the phone. So that was our family. We did everything together. We cried together. We did everything together. We depend on each other. And
I mean, I assume you had some of the days and nights had to have been kind of bad. I mean, depression-wise, how did you handle that?
Right, I cried. I cried so much, I ain't had no more tears. But my worstest time was during the holidays.
Yeah.
And when my mother passed away, I didn't think I was going to make it.
Yeah. Well, how did you make it?
Praying. God gave me strength. Because she was my backbone.
Yeah.
You know, I knew if she was out there, everything was going to be all right. But when she passed, it was hard.
Yeah. So your sentence gets reduced from 30 to 21 years. How did that all come about? And were people like trying to help reduce your sentence? Kind of tell us about that.
Well, when I was in prison, we had the email, and FAM had already had my story, and this guy named Kevin Ring.
Hold on, when you say FAM, what's FAM?
FAM is Family Against Mandatory Minimum. It's a big organization in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And this guy named Kevin Ring, he's the president there now. He read my story, and he couldn't believe what he was reading. And he reached out to me. He emailed me one day, and I accepted this email, and we started email corresponding. He asked me, do I mind him doing stories on me? And he started doing co-op stories on me.
And what were the stories about? I know about you, but about what in particular? 23-year-old
woman sentenced to 30 years for 6 weeks involved in a conspiracy. He couldn't believe.
And you, of course, will know more about this than me, but the sentencing guidelines back when you were sentenced, because it was crack cocaine, that had like a multiplier effect,
yes,
right?
It did. It was 100 to 1.
100 to 1.
100 to 1. And let me tell you something. When I was in Coleman Camp, I was in a 2-man room. I got 30 years. My roommate name is Gail King. She lay up under me. She sentenced to 10 years. She got 679 kilos of cocaine and got 10 years.
Because it wasn't crack.
Because it wasn't crack. And they gave her a mule charge. And I'm laying on top of her. They ain't getting no drugs from me. And I got 30 years. Yeah. And she think I should be bitter. I wasn't bitter.
Well, and you say a mule charge, that's somebody who's carrying the drugs.
They say carrying the charge, yeah.
Right.
But who?
So she's in it. I mean, she's actually.
Yeah, but they gave her a mule charge with 679 keys.
Yeah.
And that's just to let you know how unjust it was back then.
Right. Okay, so fam gets involved. So
Kevin started writing stories, and then all of a sudden this thing came up. They was changing it. They wanted to change the guidelines to 18-1, but they was battling over it. First, when they did change it, they did not make it retroactive. So they used my story as the poster child. So he went back and they did it again. That's when Eric Holder was there. They used I was the poster child. And after they did the hearing, they made it retroactive, and I got an email told me get my stuff ready. I still was nervous.
Well, so you were going to be the poster child, but if it wasn't retroactive, all you were going to be is the poster child sitting in prison.
5 more years.
So at least they made it retroactive, and you got out. I mean, what during that time? I mean, did you get some hope? I mean, I know you said you never lost hope, but did you? I mean, was your hope kind of increased when you got somebody fighting for you? They're trying to change the guidelines. I mean, how did that affect you?
It affected me. I'm talking about it changed my whole life. When Kevin came in my life, it changed my whole life because he fought harder to me than my own lawyer. It was like more stranger helped me more than people that I knew.
Right.
And they didn't give up. They fought continuously. Even when our postman came on the first time I didn't come, I'm telling them they started writing letters, sending letters out. And I came home the day after Thanksgiving. And if it wasn't for them, I probably still sitting in there.
Right. And so this was 2011, you get released.
2011, yes.
Okay. And so now you're released. Now you're back in Mobile. You're back in society. Tell us about that transition.
When I was getting ready to get released and I'm getting my stuff together, people saying, Stephanie, why you want to go back to Mobile? They don't give you all that time. I said, Mobile ain't give me that time. I did it to myself. Mobile ain't do nothing to me. Mobile's a great city. I'm going back home.
Right. And I think this is important for people to know. I think that clearly you think, and I'm sure a lot of people think, a 30-year sentence for what you did is a bit excessive. You accepted responsibility for what you did.
Well, I would accept responsibility, but you can't accept responsibility if you go to trial. You got to plead.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't plead.
Yeah.
Like I told the prosecutor when they came to me want to make a deal, I told them I would accept my responsibility, but I'm not going to cooperate.
Yeah.
I take on whatever y'all say I did it. Yeah. But I'm not going to cooperate and say something I didn't do. Right. I'm not going to do that.
Right, I understand that. But I mean, for what you did, you've expected.
Exactly.
That's what I meant. But so you're back. All right, so you're back in Mobile. You're out. How was it going from being 21 years in an institution where, it's pretty regimented, I would assume, to now you're back and you're not behind bars anymore and you can make your own decisions about how you want to spend your time. How was that transition?
Right. I was scared at first because being in prison 21 years, at 4 o'clock p.m., you better be standing up counting. If you don't, you're getting locked up. 10 o'clock, you better be by your bed. I was scared. I thought when I got out, I thought I was going to be, like people say, you're going to be institutionalized. I thought I was going to be jumping up, getting up at 4 o'clock for that count. I got to be at home at 4 o'clock for the p.m. count at 10 o'clock. I was scared, but God knows I didn't have none of that. It didn't even faze me when I came home. Didn't even think about the 4 o'clock count. Didn't even think about the 10 o'clock count. But I did thought about the girls that I left behind.
Yeah.
But the counts, I didn't even think about it.
Well, and tell us about your relationship with your kids when you got out.
When I first got home and made it in Mobile, all of them was out there. I had a big welcome home. And it was like they was shocked to see me because when I left them, they was like 6 or 7 and younger than that. They was glad to see me be home.
Right.
I think they helped that change their life.
Yeah, well, good. And now you've actually been pardoned, right?
Yes, I have.
Tell us about that. Well,
I got pardoned last year in October. It took like 2.5 years. So from where I got a pardon and what my pardon, I got a full pardon. But one thing about my pardon, they couldn't give me my rights to my gun permit because my case is a federal. But I do have a full pardon.
Why was it important for you to get a pardon? I mean, you're out of jail, But you wanted to get a pardon. Why was that important for you?
Because I got turned down 2 times for a job because of my background, and that hurt it.
And how was it? How was trying to get employment after serving 21 years in a federal prison?
It's hard. If you got something on your back, your jacket, it's hard.
Yeah.
What hurted me the most, I went down, it was down there in Brooklyn Field. That's the job that first turned me down. I was working at Hoffman Furniture, and a guy came in there for some furniture, and we were walking around looking for some furniture for him. And he said, "What you do?" I said, "Well, I'm a bill collector, and I'm a salesman here." He said, "Do you have any kind of experience doing anything?" Yeah, I said, "Yeah." I said, I know how to do the SAP program." And he said, "You know SAP?" I said, "I know SAP in and out. That's a computer program like that." He said, "Really?" He said, "Can you give me a resume?" I said, "Yeah, but I ain't got it with me now. I can bring it tomorrow." He said, "Okay, I'm going to be back down here at 11 o'clock to get it." And he came and got that resume. The next day, they called me for an interview at a temp service. I went down there and took that test, passed the test. Them people had me fill out the W-2 form, my bank route, and everything.
Yeah, you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go. The next day, they didn't call me. So they told me they're going to call me, so I'm waiting. Didn't get no call. The guy called me. He said, "Stephanie, what's wrong?" I said, "She said she was going to call me. I ain't heard from her." She dodged me 3 times. Finally, somebody got on the phone. She said, "Miss Nard, let me ask you a question." She said, "You been in prison?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Well, you can't get this job. You've been in prison." I said, "But I told y'all that from the beginning." I said, "My record go back from 1988. I said, "You going to hold that against me from 1988? And they held that against me. Yeah. But the lady who hired me, she would not tell me. She not come back to the phone.
Right. But you are, you're employed now?
I'm employed now.
You like what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Good. Well, now, you've also done some speaking to like some teenagers and young adults, right?
I went over to the Scrickton Youth Center and I spoke at Chastain Middle School.
First of all, why did you want to do that?
Because I didn't want them kids to make the same mistake I did, especially girls, because I know it's easy to get caught up with money, jewelry, and I know guys, that's the first thing you're going to throw at little girls. And it's easy to get influenced. Yeah.
Well, and so what was your message to the kids?
Don't be another Stephanie.
So I guess you told your story about what happened.
I told them my story exactly how it happened.
Yeah. What advice do you give them? Well, what advice did you give them?
Money is addictive. Once you start getting that money, it's hard to stop getting it. And that's the key. Once you start making that money, you're going to want that money. And it's addictive.
And I guess it makes you make bad decisions if you're getting the money in a way you shouldn't be getting it.
Exactly. Yeah. And you got to watch your surrounding.
Right. Through all this, what have you learned about yourself?
I'm a good person. And when I went to prison taught me. Prison taught me it's more like now I think I still got my guard up because before I went to prison, I gave, and I felt like people took advantage of that.
Right.
And I learned prison show you who your friends is. Prison show you who your true family members is.
Yeah, I got you. This is kind of a broad question, but kind of what's your philosophy on life now? What do you want out of life? What are you expecting to get out of life, or just kind of what's it all about for you now?
Whatever I get out of life, I want to earn it. Yeah, I'm a hard worker.
And do you ever think that, look, I've had 21 years of my life that have been spent in prison, and do you feel like you need to catch up now, or just?
Lord, I can't catch up.
Yeah.
That's 21 years I can never catch up to. Yeah. I just got to start where I'm at, because bygones.
Yeah.
I can't catch up.
Yeah. Well, do you kind of think you just?
I wish I could.
Yeah. I know I shouldn't say a woman's age, but since we've talked, and I know you're 55 because you're younger than me, but so that's a little less than half your life.
Yep.
You spent in prison. So do you ever look at it like, well, yeah, that wasn't wasted time? Because I lived.
Because you know why?
Yeah, why?
It wasn't wasted time because probably if I stayed out on the street, I'd probably be dead.
Yeah.
So I'm thankful, Like they say, everything happened for a reason. I'm thankful.
Yeah. So what advice would you give to people that they've made a bad mistake? So when you did what you did and you got sentenced and you walk into prison, if you were there and somebody's walking into prison after they did something and now they're sentenced for it, what would you tell them?
Listen, you done made a mistake. You can't let that wear you down. You're going to be around. You're going to have people for you. You're going to have people against you. But you got to keep your head up. You made that mistake, and let's keep going, You're going to have some good days. You're going to have some bad days. But it's going to get better. And you just got to stay around positive people.
Right. And what advice would you give people friends, family, people that go through some tough times? They're down on their luck. They're going through just, a bad stretch. What advice would you give them to kind of deal with the adversity that they're dealing with?
First, they got to pray. I put all my trust in God. Roy, I promise you. I put my trust in God because I know man will fail you. I learned from experience. God, if it weren't for God, I wouldn't be here today. If it weren't for God, I would be crazy. I wouldn't be in my right mind if it weren't for God. And I know this.
And what do you mean by that? Kind of explain that some more.
You can't imagine being in prison 21 years behind bars. I don't see women went crazy. I don't see women died in prison. I don't see women cut their arm up. I seen women ain't make it out of prison, lost their mind, because you got to have strength to make it out that prison. It ain't easy.
Right. It was the praying for the strength that you got.
It was the strength. Yep.
Of course, your faith in God and your praying and the strength is a very important part of it. But on a separate and apart from that, if you're around somebody and they're just saying, man, I'm having a tough time, or I just don't, man, things are going bad, and
let's go walk. Let's go play some games or something. That's what I tell them. Let's go walk.
Yeah.
Let's go play some volleyball.
Yeah, practical stuff you can put in.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. And but mostly I do every day. I work from 8 to 4. Once I get off work, I go to chow hall, then I'm heading out there on the track. I'm going to track, I'm going to the volleyball court, I'm going to the racquetball court. That's where you're going to find Stephanie. Everybody going to tell you Stephanie somewhere on that track or on the volleyball field. That's what I did every day. And at nighttime, I watched sports. I was big on sports there, too. And let me tell you this, even though my faith was strong on God and I had my own belief, I didn't even go to church like I should because I felt like church was in me. I knew, God knew my heart. I had my quiet time with him.
Right. So, Stephanie, somebody who's listening to this show, dealing with some of the same things you may have dealt with or wants to, just talk to you or, find out more about your advocacy, what's a good way for them to get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me by Facebook.
How do they do that on Facebook?
Send me a friend request, messenger.
Just Stephanie Nod?
Stephanie Nod.
Okay. Well, Stephanie, I want to thank you so much for coming in and telling your story. It's really been my pleasure having you on, but I always let the guest have the last word, the parting shot. So kind of give us some great words of wisdom, kind of based upon what you've been through in your life. Give us something really good to take us home today.
Whatever you've been through in life, don't let your past determine your future. And that's what I live by. My past would not determine my future.
Gotcha. Great words to shut the show down and just great words to take us on home. So, Stephanie, thanks so much for coming in.
You're welcome, Rod.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
What a great episode with Stephanie Nod. Spending 21 years in prison and has such a positive attitude. She has certainly overcome adversity, which is what Rocket Motivation is all about. Next week's guest is Emily Schreiber. Emily was diagnosed with cystic fibrosis at age 9. She is now 29 and tells her story of what it's like to live with a condition that can dramatically shorten her life expectancy. See you next week. Thanks again for listening to Rocket Motivation. I want to again thank our sponsor, my law firm, Hand, Arundel, Harrison Self, with offices in Mobile, Birmingham, Fairhope, and Athens, Alabama, and Destin, Panama City Beach, and Santa Rosa Beach, Florida. We are uniquely situated among the Southeast major law firms to provide legal direction to clients throughout Alabama and Northwest Florida. So whether you're looking for legal advice, litigators, or simply a partner you can trust, Hand, Arundel, Harrison Sale is there for you. Thank you for listening, and be sure to check out Hand, Arundel, Harrison Sale for all your legal needs. Visit our website at handfirm.com. And if you would like to get my book, Get Back Up, it's available at Amazon. Just put in Get Back Up and my name, Rod Cade, and the book will pop up. I'd appreciate it if you would subscribe to Rocket Motivation wherever you listen to your podcasts. And please rate and review the shows and spread the word about Rocket Motivation to your friends. So until next time, remember, never give up and always get back up.